The Strait of Hormuz is a place where a single mistake can shake the global economy overnight. And when the U.S. Navy suddenly rushed USS Tripoli into these waters, it wasn't routine, because warships don't move like that without a reason. And what triggered this move is far more serious than it first appeared. The Strait of Hormuz is one of the most strategically critical choke points in the world. Roughly a fifth of the world's oil passes through this narrow stretch of water every single day. It's only about 20 miles wide at its narrowest point. That means every tanker, every naval ship, every patrol aircraft is operating in extremely tight, high-risk conditions. Now add decades of tension between the United States and Iran, and you get one of the most volatile regions on the planet. So when the USS Tripoli, an amphibious assault ship capable of launching advanced aircraft and marines, was rapidly deployed into this environment, it wasn't just about presence, it was about preparation. But preparation for what?
To understand why this deployment matters, you have to understand what USS Tripoli actually is. This isn't just another ship. It's essentially a floating air base. The Tripoli is designed to carry advanced aircraft like the F-35B, stealth fighters capable of vertical takeoff and landing, along with helicopters, drones, and hundreds of Marines. In some configurations, it operates almost like a light aircraft carrier. That means it can project power fast, without needing a full carrier strike group. And that flexibility is critical in places like the Persian Gulf, because in this region, speed matters, reaction time matters, and most importantly, uncertainty matters. But here's the key detail most people missed. The Tripoli wasn't just deployed, it was moved with urgency, and that urgency suggests something changed. In recent years, tensions in the Strait of Hormuz have followed a familiar but dangerous pattern. Harassment of commercial shipping, seizures of oil tankers, drone incidents, naval standoffs. Each event on its own might seem small, but together they create a constant state of pressure. And pressure in a narrow waterway is where mistakes happen. Now, according to multiple assessments, there had been rising concerns over increased activity by Iranian naval forces and proxy groups in the region. Fast attack boats, unmanned systems, surveillance operations, all operating in close proximity to U.S. and allied ships. At the same time, global energy markets were already on edge. Even a minor disruption in Hormuz can spike oil prices worldwide. So from a U.S. strategic perspective, the situation was becoming unstable. But this is where things take a turn, because instead of sending a traditional carrier group immediately, the U.S. chose something different. They sent USS Tripoli, and that decision tells us a lot.
At first glance, deploying USS Tripoli might seem like a standard show of force, but it wasn't. This was a calculated move, because Tripoli brings a unique combination of capabilities that are extremely valuable in a fast-moving crisis. Stealth aircraft, rapid response Marines, helicopter assault capabilities, and the ability to operate closer to shore in contested environments. In other words, this ship isn't just about deterrence, it's about flexibility and potentially intervention. But here's where it gets more serious. The presence of F-35B jets aboard a ship like Tripoli changes the equation. These aircraft are designed for high-end conflict. They can operate in contested airspace, they can evade advanced radar systems, and they can strike with precision. So when a ship like this moves quickly into a choke point like Hormuz, it sends a message, not just to Iran, but to every actor in the region. The message is simple. The U.S. is preparing for scenarios beyond routine patrols. But what made this moment different was timing, because this deployment didn't happen in isolation. It happened during a period of increasing regional instability, and that's what raised alarms.
The immediate impact of USS Tripoli's presence was clear. It raised the stakes. Suddenly, the Strait of Hormuz wasn't just a tense shipping lane, it became a potential flashpoint. Iranian forces, already operating aggressively in the region, now had to account for a highly capable U.S. platform operating nearby. And that changes behavior. Because every maneuver, every interception, every close encounter now carries a higher risk of escalation. But there's also an economic layer to this. Global markets watch the Strait of Hormuz closely. When military tension increases, oil prices react almost instantly. Insurance costs for shipping rise, routes become more dangerous, and even without a single shot being fired, the world feels the impact. But here's the part that often goes unnoticed. Deployments like this aren't just about reacting, they're about shaping what happens next. And that's where the real story is.
What looked like a tactical deployment was actually part of a larger strategic signal. Because the US Navy doesn't just move assets randomly. Every deployment communicates intent. And in this case, the message was layered. First, it reassures allies in the region that the US is still capable of rapid response. Second, it warned adversaries that escalation would be met with immediate capability, not delayed force. But the third message is the most important: flexibility. The deployment of USS Tripoli suggests a shift in how the US approaches potential conflict zones. Instead of relying only on massive carrier strike groups, there's increasing emphasis on distributed, adaptable forces, ships that can respond quickly, operate independently, and scale up if needed. This is a different kind of power projection, less predictable, more agile. And in a place like the Strait of Hormuz, that unpredictability can be a strategic advantage. But it also introduces new risks, because when both sides are trying to stay unpredictable, the margin for error shrinks. And history has shown that in the Gulf, small incidents can escalate very quickly.
The rushed deployment of USS Tripoli wasn't just about presence, it was about readiness. It was about sending a signal without firing a shot. And it was about preparing for a situation that could shift in hours, not days. In a region where geography amplifies tension and where global energy depends on stability, even a single warship can change the equation. Because in the Strait of Hormuz, power isn't just measured in firepower, it's measured in timing. And this time, the timing mattered more than most people realize.